It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Swings it out to Sadiq Bey. Gets Benny in the try!
To Abdul-Rahman at midcourt. Extra pass. And it goes for the win! The three-pointer by Jordan Poole. Here's the give. Walker! Kenneth Walker! Touchdown! Spotty!
Goff's got it. Back. Looks. Throws. Ends up.
Yes!
Caught! Touchdown Detroit Lions! They did it! Amon-Ra St. Brown in the receiving end!
Sends one to deep left center field. Back it goes, and that ball's out of here! A grand slam from Miguel Cabrera. He's got 2 goals. Larkin in on goal. Scores! His first career hat trick in his 7th season for Dylan Larkin.
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Good feel-good Friday morning to you. It is the 14th day of April, 2023. We welcome you here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports and Network. Danny Cahalan, Ryan Elke, Anthony Bellino, all joining you. Thank you for joining us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening, all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio as well. From Traverse City down to the Glass City, GR to the Motor City, we say good morning to you. We welcome you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And, of course, we encourage you. Join the program at any time. You can text the keyword sports radio. Send that to 21,000 sports radio to 21000. Our Meyer Supercenter guest line 248-951-2176, 248-951-2176. We're on Twitter at XB Mornings, Facebook, X's and Bros, and, of course, good morning to our television audience as well on BCSN and streaming in our YouTube page at Michigan Sports Network. Add a .com to that to find our website, and you can email us if you've got some longer thoughts, xbmornings@gmail.com. Danny Cahalan is at Dan in the studio. Ryan Elke is at RyanL_Key, and I'm Anthony Bellino at AC Bellino. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you. How are you this morning? What is going on? Happy Friday. The weekend is officially here.
I know. Yeah, I have a long weekend, but yes, it will be the weekend, so that's fun. Friday night baseball tonight, then Memphis.
It's on Apple TV+.
Apple TV Plus, Tigers and Giants. It's, gosh, I can't remember who's pitching for the Giants.
Sean Manaea.
Oh, yeah. Could be ugly.
A lot of excitement out of Ryan's voice there. With that Sean Manaea just now. Seems thrilled to be able to welcome him to the mound for a pitching expose.
I mean, he's a fine pitcher. It's one of those guys that were in Oakland that everyone was trying to pump up, and then he leaves Oakland and has stunk everywhere else.
I'm pretty sure he's also one of the reasons for the pitch clock. He was like one of the starting pitchers that would just take forever.
Oof.
So we'll see how he adjusted.
Saw a pitch clock violation last night.
Oh, there were a few.
Yeah.
I mean 3 or 4. I would bet between the batter and the pitcher last night.
Now, did you work Tigers, Red Wings, or did you have the night off last night?
I did. I worked the Tigers broadcast.
Okay, so you had the Tigers broadcast. Is that like a do you get to kind of pick like, hey, preference wise, when we have 1, 2, or all 3 teams playing at the same time? Do you guys get to choose which game you want
it's
to work
based on I don't know what the priority is per game. But no, like last night was for the Red Wings was all from the truck. So it was Trevor Thompson live from Amalie Arena in the bowels of Amalie Arena just doing the intermissions. You know, no John Keating and Murph in the studio.
Gotcha. I always wondered that, if that was something that, and then how they prioritized it. Because I was going back and forth.
We used to like pre-tape, like we would get, hey, everybody get there an hour early. We'll pre-tape one of the pre-game shows. So, there's a full pre-game. But we haven't done, now it's just Trevor hosting the pre-game from the arena.
Got you. That's interesting. From a priority standpoint, season finale Red Wings on the road in Tampa, or game 12 of the Tigers. Tigers went on Bally Sports, Big Bally as I like to call it, and then Extra got the Red Wings game last night against the Lightning. I thought that was interesting, just because it is the last one. Seems to have a different level of importance versus another just regular season game the Tigers are probably going to lose, right, from a scheduling standpoint. But obviously, I mean, they know what's going on. I'm just taking.
I would place a bet. It's based on which one's bringing in more money on a game, for a game.
Right. Yeah. No, I would. I'd tell you that was a smart wager. I'd tell you that's probably a really, really good gamble, right there. But yes, it was the finale for the regular season for the Detroit Red Wings. That did not go well. The Detroit Tigers, they were on the road last night taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We've got plenty of thoughts about that ball game from last night. Finally putting one together, which is really nice. I mean, good for them. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the benching of Javy Baez. What in the world is going on there? For our early birds this morning that may have missed Jeff Risdon, he called in yesterday, and we had a really good discussion with Jeff about where what's going on with the Detroit Lions, some draft stuff, but also some roster makeup topics that we'll get into. We'll get into the Jamal Williams, David Montgomery conversation and what that means if, some guy like Bijan Robinson is available there at 18. What would the Lions do? So if you missed that yesterday, we'll play it for you here this morning so that our early audience can get a chance to get a listen to it, because, it's Jeff. He's good people, and he's really good at his job. And man, it's good. It's good. All right, what else is going on in the sports world? We'll try to get you all caught up with all the happenings. We'll do so right now in the headlines.
Big news.
I have a little news flash.
Let's check the headlines.
Nah, it's real news for once.
The biggest stories of the local, regional, and national news.
This is huge news.
Odell Beckham Jr. said that Lamar Jackson gave him no assurances that he would be the Ravens quarterback. Speaking of Odell Beckham Jr., he costs as much as almost the entire wide receiver room for the Detroit Lions. The outlier being there, Marvin Jones Jr., but Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Quintez Cephas, Khalif Raymond, combined salary less than OBJ. I'll take the Lions receivers, and I'll even take the Lions quarterback because, hell, Baltimore doesn't even know if he's going to be able to play. The Bucs general manager said they have no intention of trading linebacker Devin White, who had requested a trade. I just don't get that. Jason Lick said they have no intention of doing so. He's done some great things for us, and we look forward to look forward to more from him in the future. If he has the type of year we think he's capable of, we can hopefully put this to rest and everybody's happy. Lick said he fully expects White to remain on the roster in 2023. This isn't something I'm holding against Devin. I still feel he's a tremendous person. I would never say that he's not the type of teammate we want because of this. So I think that was pretty interesting. A source told ESPN earlier in the week that White is fed up, with a second source saying White's frustrations stem from negotiations on a contract extension. Currently slated to play under the fifth-year option, bumps his salary from $9.5 million in 2022 to $11.7 in 2023. I would love to be able to be frustrated about $11 million a year. Allegedly, what he's seeking is between $18 and $20 million a year. That's very expensive. That sounds like a cap casualty. It sounds like one of those deals you sign that's really big at the time. Like, oh my God, 5 years, $170 billion. And then the guy plays 1 year. He's like, oh, they just cut him. And they just freed up $160 billion. You know what I mean? The NFL and the Players Association are approving a helmet designed to reduce quarterback concussions. Is this the Tua tin? I don't really know, but I got to see a picture. I got to see what it looks like. The Browns and First Energy have agreed to end their stadium sponsorship deal, leaving the team's home field to be called Cleveland Browns Stadium for now. Who will be the next sponsor? Michael Jefferson, a potential mid-round prospect out of Louisville, wide receiver, was injured in a car accident. It was a multi-car crash Sunday night in Mobile, Alabama, left him with injuries that require multiple surgeries, according to his agent. That's no good. Andrew Wiggins has been cleared for Game 1 of the NBA playoffs, so he is back. The Cavs will also welcome back Isaac Okoro, he's likely to return for the series against the Knicks. Chris Middleton practiced fully. He's gearing up for the playoffs. John Morant, he's going to try to countersue the team and say that the kid that threw the ball at him could have ended his career. I swear to God, that's what he said. Incredible.
Throw John Morant in jail just for that counter suit.
Throw him under the jail for that. The Avs captain Gabriel Landeskog with his knee injury is going to remain out for the playoffs. And Jonathan Toews, goodbye as a Blackhawk. He did soak in the last game there in Chicago by scoring a goal. We'll step aside. We'll be back with more X's and Bros talking Tigers baseball next here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for my good friend Tom Rosenbach and his team at Bean Carter. They're one of America's top accounting and business firms. They're based in downtown Grand Rapids, and now they're stronger than ever before with their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew. Now, Dorn Mayhew is an east side firm. Now you get the west side of Michigan with Bean Carter, and whether you're a small business or big business, they can handle all of your accounting and business needs at Bean Carter. Just go to beancarter.com. That is BEENEGARTER.com. And I mentioned with their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew, they cover all of Michigan, the Midwest, and coast to coast. Find out how the pros at Bean Carter can help your business today. Go to beancarter.com. That is BEENEGARTER.com. And I know Tom Rosenbach and his team are so happy about their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew.
If you or your family is touched by autism, learn more about Freddy's Foundation at #PopTheTap at FreddyThePizzaman.com. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Or email FreddyThePizzaman@gmail.com.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. Sometimes it is rare that we come in without any bed music, but Dan just notified me that we are having a computer meltdown. He is literally catching the parts of the computer as they melt into small itty-bitty pieces. But anyways, great to have you with us here on X's and Bros. And folks, a reminder, the action is heating up tonight. The final of the play-in games, who's going to make it, who's not going to make it, who's going to be the 8 seeds. We'll figure that out this evening. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the promo code HUGE, promo code HUGE. Make a $5 pregame moneyline bet. Score $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Now, if you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, wants help, needs help, call the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Gambling Disorder Helpline at 800-270-7117. 21 plus, Michigan only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Opt-in is required, folks. One bonus bet issued based on the amount of the initial losing NBA bet, eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions. Those do apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. Welcome back here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. I don't know if there's a better sound this time of year than this theme song right here. Oh, baby. I'm wired, fired, and inspired. The NBA playoffs starting up this weekend. Playing game's been great thus far. Everything the doctor ordered. And now the month-and-a-half-long bracket bonanza begins. Actually, it's April 14th, so it's actually 2 months. Right by the time the finals end, it's the second season now. Things are really heating up. Who's going to hoist the Larry O'Brien? A lot of questions to be answered. Excited for it. Still wish we would have staggered the start of those other 2 seasons, but whatever. All right, welcome back here to X's and Bros. Danny, Ryan, I'm Anthony. Great to have you with us. Tigers, winner chicken dinner last night. How about them? That's always fun. There was a Foley's at the mound for the Tigers last night, and he's facing Vlad Guerrero. And during the broadcast, the shot that Vlad hits that he ends up, being out on, he rips it. I mean, Vlad catches. I would love to see the exit velocity on that thing because it was flying. And it was the, 15th pitch for Foley. Vlad just rips the cover off this ball. It goes just barely over Foley's head. I believe it was it Scope that handled it? Maybe Scope got that and then flipped it over to
yes,
flipped
you
it over
correct.
first. Yeah, it was Scope, and then that was it.
Well, let's say just that game was weird because also there was one play a couple innings earlier where there was a line drive up the middle of the field, runner on first for Toronto. He goes to third. They called him back to second because the ball hit the umpire.
And there was another game on Sunday, I believe, where the umpire got in the way of the cutoff pitch. Did you guys see that?
Oh, yeah, he got beamed in the head.
Dude, and he, still finished, it hit him. He went down. He got up and maintained his job. He was trying to find out who was where. It was incredible. Guy had a head like a brick. What I liked about it was that when Vlad Guerrero hit this one, fielded by Scope, flipped over to first. Everybody's happy. Let's trot off the bags. Everybody have a good time. Chef says something along the lines of, Vlad Guerrero, the one hopper over to Scope, almost took Foley's head off, dude. I don't know why I thought that was so funny last night. I even texted you guys. Nobody texted me back, though. It's okay.
It was funny.
It was hilarious. Just the way that he said it. It was so matter of fact, and
he almost did take Jason Foley's head off because I don't know what the exit velo on that. I mean, it was probably $110 at least.
If you had to duck out of the way of that pitch right now, and you actually did duck out of it, your entire body would hurt from trying to move that quickly to get out of the way.
Spencer Turnbull's last start, he had a line drive that came back at him that he got out of the way of, and he was down for a good 2 minutes after because I think he had whiplash from trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, but you try to duck like that, thighs, hips, obliques, hammies, any of that.
Turnbull, he went full back bend on it. So it's I think he was just that was too quick of a movement for this early in the morning, even though it's 8 o'clock at night.
It was only 105.5.
Only
105 miles an hour, and Foley got out of the way from 60 feet 6 inches. How many feet per second is that flying? I mean, dude, it was a laser beam. I'm just glad he got out of the way. 10 strikeouts for the Tigers as a team. I believe they had 11 yesterday. Still like to keep track of that. A lot of that Spencer Torkelson's problem. He was 1 for 5. He accumulated 3 strikeouts. Riley Green was 0 for 5 with a couple of them. Maytown was 2 for 5. He had a couple strikeouts. Cool to see Nevin come in and get a little run there. Phil Nevin's son. Phil Nevin, who is a manager at the major league level.
Like,
Phil was the minor league manager of the Toledo Mud Hens. So, yeah, that's cool.
I get it. It's very cool that he's on the team.
Yeah.
How many Don Kellys do we need on this team?
More.
Like, we have Nick Mayton.
We don't have any Don Kellys. There's only one.
Yeah, that's
Don
right.
Kelly.
But can we get a dude that can play third base every day and a dude that can play right field every day and a guy that can play second base every day? I mean, I don't need my guys moving from right field to third base to second base in a game.
Well, yesterday, I mean, Maytown went, third, shortstop third yesterday?
I don't know.
There's some versatility there.
Just give me,
which is nice.
Like, AJ talks about how great it is to have all this versatility. You know, when AJ was winning World Series, he didn't have guys that were versatile. He had dudes that played the same position every single day.
Yeah, but he's looking for, like, the bright spot, right? So you got a bunch of guys that are mediocre at one spot, might be
Matt Vierling is a fantastic. He seems like a pretty good right fielder. He made a catch the other day, and I just looked at him. I was like, he looks like a right fielder.
Yeah, I would play him there.
Put him out there
every day.
He doesn't need to come in and play third in the 4th inning.
Yeah, leave him there. I'm good with that. But I think that when Hinch is talking about that, I think he's just trying to look for something positive. There's a lot of negative. Did you see his face last night? Of course you did. I mean, my God. After the Baez base running blunders, I mean, he looked like what I like about him, very stoic.
Looked like Sheila Ford Hamp.
He looks tired already.
You shouldn't have to explain this to major league players. That's the thing. That's something that you explain to high school
players. The last 3. Eric Haas running to third on a ground ball to short. You have the Vierling not sliding on a stolen base attempt and getting tagged out. And Javy Baez just like, oh, I forgot how many outs there were because I was batting 6th.
Well, you better do some counting because you could be batting 9th. The way this will keep rolling. Here is post game the discussion. What happened? What happened? AJ, enlighten us. Take us and talk us through what went down with Javy Baez.
It's not even really all about Javy. I think if you watch the last couple of series, we've made a number of mental mistakes, and the one thing we can control is our preparedness and our readiness. So Javy happened to be the runner that made the big mistake where I made the move, but it's a message to our whole team that we've got to clean that up. We can control it. Very rare for Javy to do that. He's one of the better baseball minds on our team. But a big move because we takes a potent bat out of our line. He just got a hit. He starts to. He just had a lot on his mind and wasn't locked in. We got to lock in a little better.
How tough is that decision for you?
Yeah, they're always hard. I don't want to embarrass anybody. I don't want to lessen our bench. I don't want to take out one of our starters. He's a premium player. But I also don't want to see a team make mental mistakes. So those are hard, but those conversations, you rely on relationship, you rely on your communication skills, and he'll come out of it better and be back in the lineup tomorrow.
Some good words there from AJ Hinch explaining what went down with Javy Baez, and I actually I like it. I think it's a really good answer. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and if you are a professional, then you'll be able to handle that, process it, go out there and make it even better. And that's not just for Javy Baez, that's for all of us in our career fields. We'll step aside when we return. Our Jeff Risdon replay. In case you missed it, for the early birds, we're going to talk a little Lions football. Jeff Risdon next here on X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
From the biggest of big games to the littlest of the little.
There you go! No, first base! Go, run!
Whenever you shop Meijer, you help support hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. From some of the biggest stadiums in the state to the familiar fields down the street, you're helping make a difference to the people and places you call home. Learn more at Meijer.com/community.
Imagine this, a day filled with indulgence, bursting with excitement, and packed with extraordinary moments that build memories to last a lifetime. A day that is unmistakably yours, at the place that is undeniably spectacular. Whether you're winning big, dining lavishly, or relaxing oh so comfortably, it's your getaway reimagined at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
This is X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you right along with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening, all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio. It's Danny Cahalan and Ryan Elke. I'm Anthony Bellino. Join us now on the Meyer Supercenter guest line. Our good friend, managing editor of the Lions Wire and the Draft Wire, our good friend, Jeff Risdon. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Risdon. Jeff, good morning to you, my friend. Before I ask you, how are you? How are the kiddos?
Oh, man, it's nonstop, dude. That's the way it goes. Appreciate you having me on. Thanks for having me.
You're part parent, part Uber driver at this point in your life, so that's good to hear. Now, you did have a little bit of a shift in your career. Give us the details of what's new, and will we still get our NFL Daily Dime on Mondays?
Oh, yes, we will.
Okay.
I am now I moved on to I no longer cover the Cleveland Browns. I gave that up, and I moved on from Real GM, but I will be I am the new managing editor for Draft Wire at USA Today, which is basically a lifelong dream job. I got into this career industry over 20 years ago with the goals of becoming a full-time NFL draft writer, and I've achieved that, and I'm very happy about that. I love the NFL draft. The draft weekend is my favorite weekend of the year. Specifically, draft Saturday, the third day of the draft, is my favorite day of the year, and I get to celebrate that now and do it year-round. So that's amazing for me. I am still covering the Lions, obviously, between Lions Wire and the Detroit Lions podcast, and you hear me on the Huge Show quite a bit too. But things are going on, and you will still see the 10 cents. It is being, let's just say, things are being done that will ensure that it will reappear somewhere else.
Awesome. And you know what you said? Lifelong goal, studio audience. They were on their feet. I said, calm down, studio audience. Let's wait till he finishes. Then they can get in here. But we love that for you, my friend. And as always, appreciate you being so generous with your time. The Lions, speaking of the draft, they acquired another draft pick, a 5th rounder in the upcoming NFL draft from Atlanta in exchange for cornerback Jeff Okudah. This news comes across. What do you see? What do you make of the deal? How do you think the Lions fared? Albeit we have no idea who is going to be that 5th round selection.
Yeah, and I don't think that you can make the 5th round selection as a straight, apples to apples replacement for Jeff Okudah. I think they have other things in mind. I think they're going to take his replacement long before that, perhaps even with their first pick at number 6 overall. For Okudah, I like it for him. He needed to get out of Detroit. It was clear that he wasn't in the long-term plans, just the way that, they signed all these guys this offseason. Granted, there's not much of a commitment to any of them but Cam Sutton, but it was clearly that they weren't going to pick up his 5th-year option. He was going to be playing out for his next contract, which was going to be somewhere else. The Lions nipped that in the bud and preemptively traded him away. It's less compensation than I would have liked, but there was a $5 million salary that was hanging over it, and the Atlanta Falcons were going to have to pay that. Now, it turns out the Lions are paying some of that salary. When that quite frankly, that bothers me a little bit, but that might have been a precondition for getting the trade done. It was, and that value, it also shows you where his perception is around the league. The league doesn't care that the Lions took him 3rd overall. They care if he can play now. And has he shown that he can play now? Maybe, not really. Certainly not stay healthy. And I think that's, as sad as it is to say, that was probably the fair market value for what Jeff Okudah is to the NFL right now.
I tried to bring this up and tried to give the folks some perspective here because for a majority of Jeff Okudah's tenure in Detroit, I was being yelled at because he was overdrafted at 3rd overall. He was a bust. He's this, that, and the third. It's like, well, the guy's not on the field. So until he gets on the field and gives us a full season, I don't know what to tell you. But I was willing to be patient with him. Now that he gets traded, Jeff, they're yelling at me because he got traded for a 5th round pick. And I'm like, what do you people want? Like, was he a bust or was he not a bust? Because if he's a bust and you're going to let him walk anyways, you might as well get something for him. And you get pick 159, which is 10 slots better than what Stephon Gilmore went for. So I think all in all, you look at some of the great 5th rounders. It's not like it's bereft of talent or anything like that. And I think we put our trust if the pick stays where it's at. Now, if they package this and move around, then it's absolutely worth it. But if the pick stays where it's at, then we have to even wait even longer to see who is selected and what their impact might be on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to go back to the trade value thing, you can't keep screaming, this guy sucks, he's awful, he's a bust, and then get upset when he's traded for relative peanuts. Like, you understand that you're talking about both sides of your mouth or other orifices of your body at that point. Like, you got to be consistent about it. Like, you can't. That just frustrates me about fans. I'm with you on that one. But yeah, the fifth-round pick, last year they did a pretty good job in the late rounds, and I think they will be mining those things again. They're going to have a chance to get a player who probably is going to contribute only on special teams as a rookie, just in that point of the draft. And this is something, and this is something that we've talked about on the Detroit Lions podcast, is you've got to be prepared. Anybody who's drafted this year, even the number 6 pick, they might not start this year. And that's a good thing. That's a reflection on where this team is at. They don't need immediate impact talent. They're a good football team right now, especially the way they finished last year. They could probably use another starting defensive tackle. That's probably not going to come at number 6. They can use an outside cornerback if Emmanuel Mosley isn't healthy, but if he's healthy, they're good there. They could maybe use an upgraded tight end, but they're certainly not using one of their first couple picks on that. Like, there's not a lot of open starting spots on this roster. This is a draft where you're looking more long term. You're drafting for 2024, 2025, and beyond. And I think that's the mindset that you have to go into this draft with. And that fifth-round pick that they picked up, look, that pick was already traded once. The Jaguars traded that to Atlanta for Calvin Ridley. I think you're going to see maybe it get packaged again, and the Lions could trade it somewhere else and get combine a 5th and a 6th to move up in the 5th or late into the 4th or something like that. I actually thought that's what was going to happen with Jeff Okudah. He was going to be like a deal pot sweetener. They just got out ahead in front of it, but they could use the pick that they got from him for the same purpose and move up, 15 to 20 spots in the draft somewhere. I think that's probably the most likely thing. There are not that many open roster spots on this roster. They have 9 picks now. I dare you to find 9 players that are on the 53-man roster right now that aren't good enough to come back. It's a very interesting spot to be in. It's a very different spot than what we've been used to in Detroit for a long time, and it's going to take some fans longer than others. It's going to take a change in mindset to understand that you're not living for your draft picks, your first 4 draft picks. They don't have to start right away. They might not play a lot right away. That's going to be weird, but that's the point of having a good football team, is that you don't have to keep replacing these guys over and over and over again, and start Amari Spivey at safety, even though he can play it all. Like, you don't have to risk that, and I like that. But it is going to take some fan accommodation to get used to that.
And for the fans, I mean, we do have now 2 5th-rounders and 2 6th-rounders. So you talk about maybe packaging to move up a little bit. We do have, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, 2 fifths, and 2 sixths. So that's where the cupboard is not bare. Jeff, I've talked a little bit about this in regards to Okudah and having faith in Brad Holmes. One of which, because the latter rounds of last year, most notably James Houston and Malcolm Rodriguez, come in and are impactful players right off as soon as they become available. Obviously, Houston took some time to get all the way healthy, but then once he was in, it's like, wow, this guy does one thing. He does one thing really, really well. We'll worry about the rest of it, but he can get to the quarterback. He's got great bend, right? That's what we like to say now, bend. I mean, he runs around the edge with his shoulder pads on the ground. It's incredible. I couldn't do that right now. My whole body they'd have to gurney me off the field. But I use that, and then I also pair that with Jamal Williams. And here's a guy who's a fan favorite, who I feel like in years past, fans really love him. Maybe we re-sign him. Maybe we give him a little bit more because of what he did for this team and the shift in the culture and how important he was. But then I look at Brad Holmes, and and say, all of that considered, he still moved on. He got better at that position. He got younger at that position. And with David Montgomery, a much better offensive line, we should see a huge uptick in his production. Like, I say all of that to say this. We finally have adults in the room who I think our fan base can legitimately trust with their organization in their hands.
Absolutely. And the Jamal Williams thing, based on what Brad said at the owners' meetings, they offered Jamal the deal that David Montgomery took. Jamal's agent balked at it, thought he could get more, and got burned. Jamal Williams needs himself a new agent. That was not a Lions issue. That was a Jamal agent issue. He could have been back if he wanted to be for the exact deal that they signed David Montgomery for. And you're right. Montgomery is a better all-around player, probably not as good in short yardage situations. Few are, but they got younger and they didn't get more expensive. I like that. There's so many competent things that they're doing that it actually like raises little flags when they do. Like they extended Jack Fox, or they restructured the punter's contract. Like, why do you do that? Like that's something that like if Bob Quinn or God forbid Tom Lawan before him would have done something like that, you would have been like, what are they doing? But now it's just sort of like water off a duck's back, man. You're like, okay, they got a plan here. Let's see what they do with this extra money, because they pushed a lot of money on the punter. Like they do weird things, but it seems that they have a focus for it, and that we are going to trust what they're doing, because what they've done by and large is working very, very well. And that's, again, it takes a fan sea change shift of attitude to accept the fact that maybe, by God, we hired the right people for once, because it's been a very long time since we've seen that in Detroit, in really any sport.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And, you talk about the punter. It's like, yeah, we signed the punter, the highest paid punter in the league, and then all of a sudden, we don't even punt. 4th and 12 from our own 26. We're not even punting. We're going for it. Like, all right, I guess, whatever. Hold on to your butts. So let's get into the draft a little bit. If the Lions have no movement whatsoever, let's just say they stay put, because that's the easiest way to do this. They stay put at 6 and at 18. On your grocery list of who Jeff Risdon wants the most at 6 and 18, and let's say they're available, who would you take?
At 6, I'm taking Will Anderson, and I do think that there is a chance that he's on the board, although recent developments with what's going on at number 1 and number 2 probably wipe that away, because I think Bryce Young's going number 1, and I think Will Anderson's going number 2 to Houston. And I wrote about that yesterday at DraftWire, if you want to see the ramifications for it and why it goes to the what happens with the Lions on it. Will Anderson would be great. I would be perfectly happy with Devon Witherspoon. I think he is an absolute ideal fit for what Aaron Glenn wants in his defensive backs, and the type of player that Dan Campbell is going to love. And for the people that think he's too small, he is literally the exact same size as Darrelle Revis, like to the pound, to the ounce, and to the half inch. He's 5'11 and a half, 184 pounds. Don't tell me it can't be done. There's people, again, Lions fans stress about the weirdest things. Like, if he was a half an inch taller, you'd be like, oh, he's a great prospect. But because he's 5'11 and a half and not 6 feet, y'all are freaking out. Y'all got to get a grip on these things. Like, it's really not that huge of a deal, as long as you can play. The important part is, can he play football? Yes, he can. If you watch what he did against Michigan last year, you know he can play and play very well in the exact style that the Lions want. So that would be my choices at 6. 18, you get down there. If they take a pass rusher, Deonte Banks out of Maryland is a cornerback. He's like the up and coming version of Devon Witherspoon. He doesn't have as much experience, but he does have the length. He does have the measurables that portend greatness. And I will tell you, standing in front of his interview podium down in Indianapolis at the Combine, that's a Dan Campbell. That's a guy that has grit like tattooed on his forehead. So he would be great. That 18 spot is a tough one. Offensive line makes a lot of sense, especially, like we talked about, they are looking for the future. That's a weird spot for offensive line, though, because a lot of the good guys are going to be gone. Like, I know there's a lot of people that like Darnell right out of Tennessee. I do, too. I think he's going number 9 to Chicago, and I don't think he's going to last to 18. So there's that range. I'm praying that they trade back, honestly, if they can do something there. It's too early for a quarterback, even Hendon Hooker, who I do happen to like. That's too early for him in my book, for a guy that's 25 and not going to be able to play or practice until he's on the JMO schedule from last year, where you don't see him until Thanksgiving. I'd rather not spend another first-round pick on that, even with the long-term focus, just because he is that much older, and there are some questions about his college offense too. But yeah, 18, I'm a pretty open book. But 6, give me Will Anderson or give me Devon Witherspoon. Maybe, you know what? I'm just going to stick with those 2.
Now, if at 18, Bijan's still there, do you take him? Come on, let's just live in fantasy land for a second. People are like, "Oh, I can't believe you of all people running backs," because I know dime a dozen. I get it. shelf life's not very good. I understand that too. I also understand guys like Adrian Peterson exist. Christian McCaffrey exists. What is Bijan? Could we get him if he's there at 18? Would you pull the trigger?
So what you're asking is the extra 10 to 15 yards a game over the top of what David Montgomery produces worth that much to bring in Bijan Robinson? I think it might be. But I will say this is a ridiculously deep running back class. Jahmyr Gibbs would have been the number one back in every other draft since Saquon Barkley. He's that good. Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, formerly from Michigan, is a really high-end prospect. Doesn't have breakaway speed, but he does everything else exceptionally well. Ty J. Spears out of Tulane. Like, there are so many great running back prospects in this draft that, if Bijan was an isolated incident, if he was like that freakish of a talent above everybody else, I would do it. But because you can get guys later that are going to be really close to just as good, in my opinion anyways, I can't do it. But he's tough to pass up, man. He is really, really good. I will say this, in watching his tape, I'm old enough to remember Eric Dickerson. He reminds me of Eric Dickerson. And I lived in Indianapolis when Eric Dickerson was with the Colts. That was a very fun time. And he made a really bad overall football team watchable and tolerable because of his skills. And I think Bijan can be that kind of guy. But I don't know, man. That's a really tough sell because of how good the other guys are in this class. Not any reflection negatively on Bijan.
Oh, and all right. Do you see, or is there a way that the Lions could do something like what Miami did with Philadelphia, where you could move back from 6 and drop a few spots in that first round, maybe have to, supplement that with one of the 5th rounders in order to move back in the first and acquire a first for next year?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that they're going to consider doing that. If you get a chance to slide back a few spots and punt your second first-round pick the next year, do it. It's a good idea because next year you're going to know whether you need a quarterback or not. Like this year, they don't need a quarterback. Jared Goff, he's perfectly fine. If Goff continues to be fine, then you don't need a quarterback next year, and you've got more team-building, fodder in the cannon. If you do need one, you've got more cannon fodder to shoot up the draft board and maybe get a guy like Drake May or Caleb Williams or whoever the flavor of the month will be next year. I like that idea a lot, and quite frankly, I hope that Brad Holmes likes that too.
See, look at us. Look at us. Me and you, Jeff. We're like 2 peas in a pod, like peanut butter and jelly. He's Jeff Risdon. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Risdon. Find him here on the Michigan Sports Network, all over the place. Read his work at the Draft Wire. Jeff, is always, my friend, thank you so much for your time this morning, partner. We greatly appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
My pleasure. Make it a great day, guys. Thanks.
Golf season is here at least this weekend before the weather turns next week, so that means it's a great time to get out to Tullymore Golf Resort in Canadian Lakes, Michigan, offering not 1 but 2 championship courses. Tullymore and St. Ives, located about an hour north of Grand Rapids, 30 minutes west of Mount Pleasant. So what you need to do is log on to TullymoreGolf.com on the interweb at TullymoreGolf.com or call Matt Golden at 1-800-972-4837 and book your stay and play at Tullymore today. Hour 2 is next. X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
From the biggest of big games to the littlest of the little.
There you go! No, first base! Go, run!
Whenever you shop Meijer, you help support hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. From some of the biggest stadiums in the state to the familiar fields down the street, you're helping make a difference to the people and places you call home. Learn more at Meijer.com/community.
Huge here for my good friend Tom Rosenbach and his team at Bean Carter. They're one of America's top accounting and business firms. They're based in downtown Grand Rapids, and now they're stronger than ever before with their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew. Now, Dorn Mayhew is an east side firm. Now you get the west side of Michigan with Bean Carter, and whether you're a small business or big business, they can handle all of your accounting and business needs at Bean Carter. Just go to beancarter.com. That is BEENEGARTER.com. And I mentioned with their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew, they cover all of Michigan, the Midwest, and coast to coast. Find out how the pros at Bean Carter can help your business today. Go to beancarter.com. That is BEENEGARTER.com. Br0's.com, and I know Tom Rosenbach and his team are so happy about their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew.
We might have just come out with our most refreshing Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer yet. It's called the Essential Collection. It's made with coconut water and real fruit juice, so it's always going to have a real refreshing fruit taste. Can refreshing get any more refreshing? Yep, it can, and it just did. Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer, made with coconut water and real fruit juice for a superior taste. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer, IRC Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Have you ever played golf at Tullymore, St. Ives? Have you experienced a stay-and-play package in Canadian Lakes, Michigan, less than an hour north of Grand Rapids? Well, here's what you need to do if you want to take advantage of great deals right now. Go to tullymoregolf.com. That's tullymoregolf.com, and you'll see the link for packages, accommodations, dining, meetings, weddings, events, and so much more, and especially golf on the 18-hole layout at Tullymore and the 18 holes at St. Ives. And they can accommodate any group, whether it's 2 people getting together or 200 looking for a weekend or an overnight celebration. That includes a little business, golf, great food, and beverages. Just go to tullymoregolf.com. That's tullymoregolf.com. They're located in Canadian Lakes, Michigan, less than an hour north of GR. Get more info at tullymoregolf.com.
Good morning, everyone.
It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
It's a good morning. Wake up to a brand new day. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Welcome back here to X's and Bros on a feel-good Friday. It is the 14th day of April, 2023. Great to have you riding along with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening, all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio. From Traverse City down to the Glass City, GR to the Motor City, we say good morning to you. We welcome you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And of course, we encourage you. Join the program at any time. You can text the keyword sports radio. You can send that to 21,000 to opt in. Then you can text us any of your thoughts at any time. You can call us on the Meyer Supercenter guest line, 248-951-2176, 248-951-2176. We're on Twitter at XB Mornings, Facebook, X's and Bros. And of course, good morning to our television audience as well on BCSN and streaming live worldwide on our YouTube page at Michigan Sports Network. .com to that to find our website. Ryan Elke is a Ryan L_key. Danny Cahalan is a Dan in the studio. And I'm Anthony Bellino at AC Bellino. I heard this interview yesterday. It was great. Nothing better than talking Lions football. Could not be more excited for what's to come. Always love what Risden has to say. Go Lions. Well, thank you very much, Ron. Yeah, every once in a while, when we have something we really like, but we feel like the early birds might have missed out on it. You know, it's one thing. You know, Jeff is alive and kicking first thing in the morning. I think he might wake up at 5. The guy just chews nails. Right? I mean, he's deep into the draft, looking at pick 174. You know what I mean? He's got big binders all over his office, 17 TVs, getting ready for the draft. But, you know, he's an early riser. So anytime that we have somebody that we think that, you know what, this was really good, our early bird audience, that 6 to 7 o'clock, folks that, you know, might be to the office or wherever they may be by 7 o'clock. We like to make sure that they can hear some stuff too. So we always appreciate it. And Ron, we appreciate you staying locked in during that. It's just it's fun and sometimes it's nice when you hear it, you process it, and then you bring it back, and it's like, okay, did anything change in the last 24 hours? No, I'm still very, very excited. By the way, Dan Campbell stopped by the Rich Eisen show yesterday. We've got some good sound from that. We will play for you as well, including what went down with the Jeff Okudah trade straight from the coach. Now, it is draft season, so I can tell you this much. It would be nice to have Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes on, but you have to understand it's draft season. They're not going to say boo about anything. Like, you can ask whatever question you want to ask, and you are going to, if it's about the draft or specific players or anything that they might do, you're not going to get a peep. Right? And you should expect that because they don't want to show their hand before they have to put their chips in. Right? It's the same as playing poker. A lot of smoke screens. Hendon Hooker spending some time in the facility. Look, the fact that Hendon Hooker is 25 years old, that's going to deter some people. The fact that Hendon Hooker is coming off an injury, that's going to deter some people. If he slides, that might be a really nice acquisition to overall boost the roster in that position at quarterback. That's all I've said. I mean, Jared Goff's going to be the guy. There's no doubt about it. They are not moving on from Goff. They're not going to take a quarterback in the top 6. I would be willing to push all my chips in on the table on that because they know that they can get better at other areas too while being able to upgrade the backup quarterback position. And if you get a guy like Hendon Hooker, let's say that for whatever reason, I'm just going to throw a dart at the wall. Let's say they move around and they get into the 4th round and Hendon Hooker is there in the 4th. Will he be there in the 4th? I don't know. Maybe that's way too low. Maybe they move up to the 3rd. But after the 2nd round, or maybe even in the 2nd round, let's say they select Hendon Hooker. 2nd's a little early for me. It makes me feel a little uncomfortable, but whatever. If they go get him, they know, one, there is no pressure, no challenge of him in any rumblings you may hear from the media, from the fans, from anybody else. There's no pressure to play him because he's coming off an injury. 2, he is, at 25 years old, you would assume, without me ever sitting down one-on-one with him, you would assume that this young man is more mature than somebody who's 21 years old. I mean, he's got 4 more years on him. 3, that age can also be a deterrent because it's like, okay, he's 25, coming off an injury. You know, let's say that he goes through his first NFL season, doesn't play a single snap, so he's going to be, 26? His rookie is essentially his rookie year. I don't necessarily hate that. You know, if you're 26 years old and you're taking your first snaps as an NFL quarterback, please remind me when age was that big of a factor at the quarterback position where you're like, oh, this guy hit 30, he's no good. It just doesn't exist there, right? If your arm falls off, right, if your arm is getting weaker, then that's a problem, right? And we know that after 30, your muscles will lose density. Like, you have to continue to work out. Like, that's just science, right? You're outside of your physical and athletic prime as you hit the back 9 of not only your career, but also of your life. So, yeah, he's going to stay working out. But at 26 years old, if he had an 8-year career, that takes him to 34. That's still 6 years under 40. If he had a 10-year career, that takes him to 36. So we'll see what they do there. But I do think it is very interesting, and we'll get to that Dan Campbell sound. But first, let's get you all caught up with all the happenings. We'll do so right now in the headlines.
Big news.
I have a little news flash.
Let's check the headlines.
No, it's real news for once.
The biggest stories of the local, regional, and national news.
This is huge news.
The Detroit Tigers won a game. 3-1 winners last night over the Blue Jays. Spencer Turnbull went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, did strike out 6, 1 earned run, 1 walk, threw 88 pitches. Good for Mr. Turnbull. That's a good outing right there. Red Wings fall in their season finale on the road in Tampa Bay. Not a great way to close out the season. 5 consecutive losses. They lost 5-0 last night. Ugh. Odell Beckham Jr. said that Lamar Jackson gave him no assurances that he would be the Ravens quarterback. Odell Beckham Jr., by the way, over $15 million in salary. That makes up just about the entire Detroit Lions wide receiver room, sans Marvin Jones Jr. The Bucs GM said there's no intention of trading linebacker Devin White. Devin White right now playing on his extension number. It's going to bump his salary up from $9.5 million to about $11.5 million. He's looking for that 18 to 20 range. That is a lot of money to spend on a linebacker. I don't know. I don't know about that, young fella. I don't know. Everything comes at a cost. That's why I love salary cap leagues. The NFL and the Players Association have approved a helmet designed to reduce quarterback concussions. This is manufactured by, I believe it's Visus. Might be Visus, not really sure. Reduces severity of helmet to ground impacts. We can call it the Tua tin if you want to. I'm not really sure. We'll see what this design looks like. I did not see a photograph of what this might look like, but at the end of the day, guys are going to get hit. Their heads are going to hit the ground. You're playing a full contact sport. There's no reason to be a snowplow parent here and try to save everybody. Like, it's a sport you play. You know, it's what you sign up for. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality of the situation. It's a violent game. Prepare for violence. It's what you're going to see. That's how it's played. Well, if it can make the game safer, sure, I guess. But the game is not meant to be safe. So at the end of the day, defenses will end up winning when they play violently. When defenses can strike fear into an offense. When guys want to hit, they want to hit hard. They don't care about your feelings. All this other nonsense. Like, no. That's guys that tackle, guys that hit, those are the kind of defenses that we want. The Browns at First Energy have agreed to end their stadium sponsorship deal. It's going to be Cleveland Browns Stadium for now. We'll see. You know, who knows? Maybe it'll be the Rocket Mortgage Field. Not really sure. I did see some AI concepts that were designed to make the Cleveland Browns Stadium indoors look. It's an old barn. It's an interesting setup. It's right on the lake, and it is cold. Like, it is cold after October. That's a tough place to play. Michael Jefferson, a potential mid-round prospect from Louisiana, the wide receiver, was considered a potential middle-round pick for the NFL draft, was involved in a multi-car crash Sunday night in Mobile, Alabama. Left him with injuries that do require multiple surgeries. Not good. His Chevy Impala collided head-on with a Dodge Charger, was also hit by a third vehicle. The crash killed the driver of the Charger, a 55-year-old man who was not wearing a safety belt, was pronounced dead at the scene, according to police. Scary times there. Andrew Wiggins cleared for Game 1 of the NBA playoffs just in time after a very, very long extended absence. Cavaliers' Isaac Okoro also likely to return for the series against the New York Knicks. That'll be good. Chris Middleton practices fully as the Bucks are gearing up for the playoffs. That's scary for everybody else. Grizzlies guard Ja Morant is filing a countersuit against the team for the kid that threw the ball at him, said it could have ended his NBA career. This guy's a loser. Avs captain Gabriel Landeskog is out for the remainder of the playoffs. Make sure to write that down if you're interested in Colorado at all, which you're a Detroiter, so you shouldn't be. Jonathan Taves soaked in and cherished his final game with the Chicago Blackhawks. That's all for him. He did score in last night's game. And the Vegas Golden Knights won the Pacific title and clinched home ice in the Western Conference. We'll step aside, back with more X's and Bros after this here on the Michigan Sports Network.
From the biggest of big games to the littlest of the little.
There you go! No, first base!
Go, run!
Whenever you shop Meijer, you help support hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. From some of the biggest stadiums in the state to the familiar fields down the street, you're helping make a difference to the people and places you call home. Learn more at Meijer.com/community.
From planting a simple seed to managing a global food supply, growing, processing, and distributing food is the backbone of America. You deal with food safety and labor issues, cost control, and not to mention Mother Nature. But do you have time to explore research development and biotechnical tax credits? Properly administer payroll for temporary employees. Ensure that you're operating at your most profitable? That's where we come in. We're Bean Garter. And while your business is America's food supply, our business is helping you run your business better. We'll assist with tax credits, assess your processes and controls, and so much more. And while we may not be able to help you plant your crops, we can help you realize a rich financial harvest. From the family farm to worldwide distribution of all the things you grow, grow your business better. Experience service, expertise, and simplicity at Bean Garter. Find us online, beangarter.com. Bean Garter.
We might have just come out with our most refreshing Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer yet. It's called the Essential Collection. It's made with coconut water and real fruit juice, so it's always going to have a real refreshing fruit taste. Can refreshing get any more refreshing? Yep, it can, and it just did. Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer, made with coconut water and real fruit juice for a superior taste. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer, IRC Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Statewide morning show, X's and Bros, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you right along with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio as well. An absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us and making us a part of your day. It is hour 2. It is segment 2, which means it's time for Detroit Lions Trivia. All right. Former Detroit Lions tight end T.J. Hockenson more than doubled his rookie total of receptions and earned his first career Pro Bowl berth in 2020. How many catches did he have?
64.
76.
Ooh, closest to without going over. Winner, chicken dinner, Ryan. 67.
No.
There's no way you Googled that in time. That's impossible.
No.
Simply impossible. I don't believe it. Man, really nicely done, though. You were prepared with the T.J. Hockenson. I know everybody was so, just up in arms, I can't believe we traded Hockenson. And then it's oh, my God, we don't even really use a tight end the same way that everybody thinks that we use a tight end. That was crazy. All right, so the coach, Dan Campbell, stopped by the Rich Eisen show yesterday and discussed some things with Rich. Now, one of the things about this is that no coach or general manager this time of year is going to give you really any information worth a damn. However, there were some questions that were asked that I thought were pretty good because in relation to the draft stuff, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to get anything out of a coach. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to tell you anything of substance or consequence here. But I did find a couple of fun nuggets here from Rich and Coach that I thought you would enjoy as well.
No, I think I think you find the guys that you really believe in and you believe fit you, and that you can see them having a home here with us. And once you've targeted those guys, I think you do what you feel like you need to get them on your team or to acquire them. Now, with that, you also, like any other team does, you go through all the scenarios, right? You do the mock drafts, you start going, this happens, here's a trade, and then you put yourself in that mode. I mean, that's what Brad does. You put yourself there. All right, are we willing to take this trade to give up this player that we really love? Is it worth that? And so I think you have a pretty good idea. You do have a game plan, but you're also ready to adjust if need be.
Dan Campbell, head coach of the Detroit Lions.
So that was Coach on basically what the theory is as far as getting guys on the team and what you're willing to do in the mock draft, the scenarios that go through it. Or go into it, and being prepared for all of those different scenarios. Here he is talking a little bit about the deal here now by letting Jeff Okudah walk, sending him to Atlanta, and in exchange getting a 5th-round pick.
His phone rang for the pick. Have you heard about that? People calling
You'd have
for
to talk to Brad about that one.
Oh, he doesn't talk to you about that, Dan? Or you just what happened?
He could.
What happened? Okay.
He sure could.
All right, so that's the non-specific generality that I just got from you right there. Okay, very good.
There you go.
All right. The trade of Jeff Okudah kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. Again, he was drafted in 2020, 3rd overall. Now he's been sent to Atlanta for a 5th-round pick. Why did that happen in your estimation, Coach?
Yeah, look, we knew we wanted to upgrade the secondary, and we've been pleased with the upgrades that we've made, man. Bringing in Sutton and Mosley, and then getting C.J. Johnson from Philadelphia. We feel like we really beefed up that area, and we still got Jerry Jacobs. We got Will Harris back, and so we've got a group, and we just felt like, you know what,
we felt pretty good with the additions that we made, and we really felt like, man, at this time, this is probably the best thing for us and for Jeff. You know, a new change of scenery, and give him a fresh start. You know, we felt really good about our guys, and look, I appreciate Jeff, man. Jeff was a pro. He came to work. He busted his ass. Man, he worked at it, and, you know, he was coming off an injury last year, and we just felt like, you know what, this is the right thing to do right now.
And in terms of free agency, it's all a puzzle piece, Dan Campbell, obviously. Jamal Williams, his 17 touchdowns, he is not retained, but boy, did you go ahead and get yourself a big-time back, in my estimation, in David Montgomery. And I'm wondering, do those things happen where you're standing there twice a year watching him go, he becomes available, and this is how he winds up on your team?
Yeah,
partially.
Let me say this. Yes, sir. Let me say this first about Jamal. All right, one of the, you know, this has been a 2-year process, man, going into year 3, and we've had to overcome a lot here. You know, a lot of different situations, scenarios, and Jamal is a big part of the way we finished. You know, he's a big part of us getting up and getting on our feet. You know, I mean, he was very much a part of this program, and I'll always wish him the best of luck, and I appreciate the hell out of him. But back to what you were saying about Montgomery, you know, yes, that was a big reason why. When you face the guy, you know, really, I've faced him, you know, 5 times in the last 3 years. Even when I was at New Orleans, we faced him for a year, and he was always a pain in the ass, man. He was a player I always worried about for us defensively, because he's steady, he's consistent, he's versatile, he's tough, he's smart. He can help you in the pass game. He can run choice routes. He's got patience as a runner. He's got good vision. He's got good hands, and so, man, just knowing that, all right, it's not going to work out with Jamal, to be able to acquire him, that was, man, we were pretty excited over here.
You could tell how excited he is. Big thanks to my guy, Rich Eisen. We got the Michigan connection. And so I called him. I said, Rich, you know, you were lucky enough to get the coach on the phone. Can I use some of this tomorrow morning? He was like, yeah, it's not a problem. Dude, do whatever you want, Anthony. I enjoy your work. Thanks for throwing T-shirts to the fans. I was like, yeah, take care of the fans, Rich. You know what the deal is. The Okudah trade, it's the thing about Dan Campbell that I really enjoy is that he has done this before from the player's perspective, and he's very complimentary. I know that, you know, Jeff Okudah might have caught some strays yesterday because he put a little smirky face on Twitter, and some people were maybe that rubbed them the wrong way. And for me, someone who's always kind of been there to just say, hey, you know, let's get the guy a full season. Let's see what we have here. You know, the same crowd that, you know, criticizes me for being a Michigan man. You know, and here I am. You know, they're talking about, well, where do you go to college at? I love, and we've had this discussion multiple times. I don't care where you went to college at. Can you play? Because my college fandom and enjoyment of college athletics has 0.0% to do with my professional interests, whether, albeit an employer or a team I'm a fan of. Like, let's just say, for instance, Jaden Akins. I'll go with Jaden Akins. If Jaden Akins were to leave Michigan State and he were to go to the Detroit Pistons and have a 15-year NBA career that had him on borderline, you know, All-Star, All-NBA, Hall of Fame status, you think I would care that Jaden Akins went to Michigan State? No. Where do you go to college? Ohio State, Taylor Decker, same thing. Love Taylor Decker. Nice guy. Good dude. Good football player. Good left tackle. Thank you for I love the guy. I got no problem. Why would I have a problem because Taylor Decker went to Ohio State? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Right? And Dan Campbell's a guy who's been through this. He's lived through this. He knows what this is like. And I like the way that he said, hey, you know what? Look, we're trying to upgrade the roster. He's been injured. We decided to go a different way. Here are the guys that we have. I love Jerry Jacobs. I'm a big Jerry Jacobs guy. And the fact that he mentioned Jerry Jacobs in addition to Will Harris, in addition to what they did in the free agency, like, you know, they're right where they want to be. They're right where they want to be. And he handles it so well. And, you know, to kind of stop Rich there and say, hey, first I want to thank Jamal for everything. He's a classy move, classy guy. And I love the Danimal. What can I say? It's a good time. He's a nice person, too. I think that counts for something. I know some of you guys don't like that, but I'd much rather deal with Dan Campbell than I would Matt Patricia. I can tell you that much. We're going to step aside. When we return, if you want to weigh in on anything you just heard, feel free. If not, we're going to hop into the Javy Baez situation and what took place last night with the Tigers. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
When you're in construction, you know that every minute matters and every dollar counts. You've got materials to purchase, employees to pay, and deadlines to meet. What you don't have is time to worry about your accounting, taxes, or ways to grow your business. That's where we come in. We're Bean Garter. And while your business is construction, our business is helping you run your business better. From tax planning, payroll processing, or R&D credit studies, we're here for you with concrete advice and answers. Let us help you build a solid foundation for your business. Whether you're a subcontractor, developer, architect, or engineer, of all the things you build, make your business the strongest. Experience service, expertise, and simplicity at Bean Garter. Find us online, beangarter.com. Bean Garter.
Imagine this, winning big at Soaring Eagle. Spin the money wheel and win up to $100,000 cash. Every Saturday in April from 5 to 11 p.m. One winner each hour will spin for the win and take home up to $100,000. Whirl in for $100,000 money wheel. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Huge here for all the Mr. Car Wash locations across Michigan. You're going to want to look into that unlimited monthly pass that I use. Superfly Hayes, my producer, uses it. I can get my SUV washed as often as I like for one low price. You can sign up today. Just go to MrCarWash.com or stop by your local Mr. Car Wash location here in Michigan for the one close to you. And to get that unlimited pass, go to MrCarWash.com.
directly about it underneath. I mean, we talked underneath, and he understands where I'm coming from, and I understand that mistakes happen. So, but I tell you what, I could have done it a lot earlier to other players in the last couple of series where we've made some mental mistakes, and who knows, we may have won 2 out of 3 if we hadn't played such kind of mentally poor this series.
Is there the reason why Eric Costa was in the lineup to start the game and Matt Beerling as well, or different reasons?
Well, we addressed both of those as well. So obviously I'm private with everything that we do until it becomes public when you have to do it during the game. So we're going to clean it up. We have a really good group of guys. They're going to understand what we have to do to be better, and they do, and they're all on board.
The sounds of the manager, A.J. Hinch, in regards to what took place yesterday with Javy Baez, and not a good look for Javy Baez and the boys. Somehow, they were able to win the baseball game, which is great. They do beat Toronto 3-1 last night. Man, just some blundering going on there, and these are mistakes that at the end of the day, you're professionals. And you have to conduct yourself like a professional. I mean, that's what you're paid to do. It's a 3-9 ball club. You're 2-9 going into the game. You're not having a good year at all. And if you're going to try to make anything out of this season, when you're riding a slide the way that they were, you have to be able to find some sort of way to get checked in and do the job that you are supposed to do. And that, to me, is, if you're going to end this losing streak, right? If you are going to try to, piece together something out of this season, and I was driving around listening to the radio yesterday, and all of a sudden everybody's on my 100 losses bandwagon. Like, it is what it is, man. It's not a very good team. But you're going to have to find a way, especially with, Turnbull on the mound. You're going to have to find a way to win some games. And, one of the guys I really like on this team, who I think has a good chance to be more than just a guy calling the game behind the dish, is Jake Rogers. I think he's one 26-ounce chain away from being the real deal. You see him run around there with the big gold chain, big Cuban link flopping on his neck. That'd be great. They got to do something. And if Javy Baez, I mean, we offered you, 4 years, 100 and however many million? Like, you're supposed to be a leader. He thought that, okay, I thought I was batting, I thought I was third and I was sixth. You can't have that mistake. It's like time and score for a professional point guard. You got to know these things every possession. It's part of the job. You're on the clock for roughly 3 hours a day. That's it. Let's get to the phone line. Dave in Hudsonville. Dave, good morning to you, my friend. How are you, partner?
Morning, AB. Hey, with Rogers, I appreciate your point, man. I want to call him Reno 911. Because with that mustache, man, that's kind of what he's rocking in that regard. But he's swinging the bat well. And your point, I'm happy with Hinch today, and I'll tell you why. From a coaching perspective or managing perspective, you have to set the tone with your best player, or in this case, the guy that makes the most money. And he's got a young team. And the night before was brutal. I mean, Beerling not sliding into second base. There's more guys playing in beer softball leagues at 45 years old that are sliding in shorts. And, Beerling walks into second and gets tagged out, and then Haas on the other situation. But for Hinch to take the best player and to pull him sends a message, which is important. Coaching in college, we used to tell our best player, we're going to kick you out of practice today, because we did not want any other player to think that there were any sacred cows. And we'd boot them out of practice just to send a message about, hey, everybody is accountable. And Izzo always talks about, you have something special. When your best players are your hardest working players, but you're exactly right. There's no excuse for what the Tigers have been doing, because high school teams run the bases better and make better choices than that. They might not hit a curveball well all the time. The Tigers are struggling with this or that, but you can handle those things. So happy with Hinch today in that regard.
Yeah, and I think that when it is Javy Baez, when it is your highest paid player, when it is somebody who your expectation, in whether it's fair or not, look, when you sign that kind of deal, the expectation that's going to be on you is going to be $100+ million, right? I mean, we as a fan base are going to expect you to not only perform in the field defensively, but we're going to expect you to perform at the plate. We need a better average than 122. We need more than 25 home runs a season. Like, this is like for that much money, you are in a performance-based sport. You're underperforming. I'm sorry.
Well, the other thing I think too for these guys, what's important to them. I mean, it's important when they. I mean, it's one thing to make an error. It's to have a ball hit at you or make a bad throw. That's part of the game. This is something that embarrasses those guys, and not just in front of their fans, but more importantly, in front of their peers. Javy Baez wants to think of himself as one of the better shortstops in the game. But at the end of the day, when he sees other players or when they see on SportsCenter what happened last night, and then they see him when they're playing, believe me, those guys are going to say something to him. They're going to bust him, and they're going to say stuff. He doesn't want to be embarrassed like that. And we'll find out about him. But at the end of the day, I think that from a professionalism standpoint, of course, with the money, but more importantly, with the peers and with the fans, I think, too.
Javy Baez, not even really about Javy. If you watch the last couple of series, we made a number of mental mistakes, and the one thing we can control is our preparedness and our readiness. Javy happened to be the base runner that made a big mistake where I made the move, but it's a message to our whole team that we got to clean that up. We can control it. Very rare for Javy to do that. He's one of the better baseball minds on our team. Javy responded with this, quote, "My mind is everywhere right now. I'm just trying to focus on my hitting and my timing. The only reason I lost count of the outs, it was because I was hitting sixth. I thought I was the third batter in that inning. That's the only reason. Anybody can make a mistake. At this point, the way we're playing, the way I'm playing, it's obviously going to be worse. If I'm hot and I have 7 home runs and I make the same mistake, I would have stayed in the game. But I got no excuses. We got to show respect to the game. He made the decision, and I respect it. He's the manager. We got to respect what he does. But we're obviously on the same page about the decision. He's absolutely right. Some people are like, oh, well, wait a minute. What do you mean? They're talking about making excuses, not making excuses. If I had, you're right. If you were performing, if you were hitting 270, if you didn't have 8 home runs, 7 home runs, if you were the Javy Baez that we thought we signed up for, then yeah, you're going to stay in the game, and we're going to be like, all right, like what's going on here? And at the same time, you're probably going to come in the next inning. It's going to be a little different, but it's a message that's got to be sent, and it was good because looking over at AJ Hinch when it happened, I love that the camera panned to him just so we could see his reaction, which was zero reaction.
Also, Hinch did it professionally, and I had a buddy that played in the league for a long time. He played for Jim Leland for a few years, and he said Leland would always come out in the media and cover for players, but he said he would chew their derrieres in private. And the players knew that Leland wasn't going to embarrass them in public. Javy Baez embarrassed himself enough in public, and Hinch handled it appropriately. And Hinch pulled him out of the, public view per se and took care of it. And that's what Leland used to do. But at the end of the day, my friend said Leland used to chew, man, and say, just let him know in private. And I think that's smart too with these guys, because at the end of the day, they care about what they look like in public, and they don't want to make a fool of themselves. So give Baez some credit, but maybe it'll help turn the team a bit. And I want freaking who was our closer yesterday? Foley.
Yeah,
I want to think
Lang
about that
closed
cat.
it out yesterday.
Lang closed it. Foley gave you the hold.
I want him to be the closer because he comes in and pounds the strike zone. I want a closer that's going to freaking challenge you and pound the strike zone. Let Foley or the other setup man from the night before be the closer.
Well, and everybody who came in after Turnbull, Shreve threw 13 pitches total, 10 strikes. Foley, 15 pitches total, 9 strikes. Cisnero, 12 pitches in total, 9 strikes. Lang, 10 pitches, 8 strikes. If we're talking about all the chatter about the strike zone we've been talking about, those guys that came in, and even Turnbull, 88 total pitches, 64 went for strikes. I thought collectively as a unit, they just pitch better. And you get a little bit of hitting, just a little bit of hitting, and you get that kind of pitching effort, you're probably going to be pretty good. And if Torkelson doesn't strike out a whopping 3 times in his 5 plate appearances, he was 1 for 5 with a run scored, struck out 3 times. We get that team total strikeout number at, once again, double digits last night at 10. That's a number I'm paying very close attention to this season. We get that down to 5, 6, or 7 a game. We should be in pretty good shape to at least stay competitive.
Yeah. I completely agree. So
what are you going to do?
All right, guys, have a good weekend.
Dave in Hudsonville, appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you. A couple of text messages here. You totally crapped me up on that Hawkinson take today. It's easy to say what you just said, basically mocking fans. But let's listen to the show the day after the trade. They were 1-6. Did you say, LOL, they don't use a tight end that way?
I did, actually. Yes.
Ooh.
Specifically, I remember saying, we don't use a tight end, people. Guess who uses tight ends? The Minnesota Vikings.
San Francisco. Kansas City. And if you have a one of those type of game-breaking tight ends, then, maybe you get a little more action. Maybe you adjust your offense accordingly. They went and got James Mitchell, even though he was injured. Thought he showed some good things in his limited amount of time last year. Great physical size. But, Hawk had that one big game. Was that Minnesota? Was that home? It was early in the season. Who was that? Washington? What game did he go crazy?
Oh, I don't remember.
Like 170 or something, just catching everything, scampering. That was great. But you move on from him. It's not like, go back, we're mocking fans, blah, blah. You have to go back and look at the trade. Why did we move on from him? Why did we choose to trade our starting tight end to a divisional rival? Right? That's what you have to go back and look at. Like, why was the move made? Not whether or not I like the move, dislike the move, like Hawk, don't like Hawk. Nobody's mocking anybody. Glad to say Burkett had the guts to confirm what I said yesterday. He was not liked in the locker room, and Dan Campbell, go ask Brad, which is, hey, the smirk, like the smirk on Twitter. That's fine. He's allowed to be mad, and they're allowed to not like him. That wasn't his guy. We took the call yesterday for Freddie where they were talking about the chewing that he took on the sideline. Like, look, we don't care that you're number 3 overall pick. Like, that doesn't matter. And I think that when you start to separate those things, that really shows me that the adults are in the room, right? How many times do we see a guy get drafted high and then the organization stands by him because, 1, either current management is afraid to be wrong, 2, they drafted him so they see something in him and they need to, like, hey, what's even the reason we drafted this guy in the first place? Now, Okudah was not a draft pick of Brad Holmes and company, so maybe it's a little bit easier for them to let go of him. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter whether or not, you were drafted top 10. And that's for all sports. If you got to move on from somebody, you got to admit that you missed. Just come out and say that you missed. Which fan says Dan Campbell's not a nice guy and better to deal with than Patricia? Most would say anything said he should have been fired after the St. Padre news or the Maneres before the St. Padre. I get it. South Padre? Is that what we're looking for? The Maneres just before the Jets embarrassment? That was a disaster. Oh, God, the excitement before that Jets game. Yeah, it didn't work. Yeah, I'm a dumb fan. Holmes didn't tell Campbell he was Okudah. I bet can be pushed that trade. Glad he did. Dead weight gone. No one is calling the fans dumb. You got to get over that. Whoever this anonymous texter is, you got to move past the whole fans are dumb thing. I never said fans are dumb. What I'm saying is you don't do it for a living. Like Brad Holmes and his scouting staff and their front office, their head coach, coaching staff, have watched more hours of film this week, actual film, all 22, than most fans do in a lifetime. Like, this is what they do. Can you imagine someone who's a carpenter walking into the grocery store trying to explain to my mom, you need to do this way? You don't work in the field. That's all I'm saying. You got to let the professionals be the professionals. Can we critique them when they miss? Absolutely. Can we praise them when they're right? Absolutely. There's not really anything that I've seen out of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell that I don't like. They had to make a change mid-season last year, and the defense got exponentially better because they fired Aubrey Pleasant. He wasn't a scapegoat. They had to move on. It wasn't working. They moved on, and guess what? Aaron Glenn, it got better. There were a lot of hot takes after They moved on. Trying to save his job. Oh, I mean, I don't know if it's trying to save his job, but obviously something's not working. If you got a coach saying that we thought that we were going to game plan like this, and then we went out there and that didn't happen, well, I mean, that basically says all we need to know. There's going to be a change. Like, if we expect you to be in this position and you're not in that position, and you were like, where's the disconnect here? You know, believing in a guy like Jerry Jacobs, go out there and do the job. Like, yeah, just I don't know, man. The whole, like, you know, 2 days ago, I was told that without the 2 or 3 days ago, I was told that without the fans, you wouldn't have a job. That's what they told me. I was like, you mean to tell me, the most overemployed person you know, that without fans, I wouldn't have a job? Without fans, there wouldn't be any sports. So that's kind of a moot point.
Secondly, man, I dog my friends, like, if I find out that they, you know, are stealing television.
Well, I mean, without the fans.
I'm like, you're the reason that people like me lose their jobs because you're stealing your television.
100%.
Do people steal your products that you work to make? Okay.
They try. We got to have a little run on lobster tails recently. Got to keep a close eye.
I heard somebody was talking about, it was Adam Richmond was talking about how lobster was a food for prisoners because lobsters were so prominent that they would just wash up in piles onto the beach, and people would pick them. That's how they fed prisoners. But when they became rare, that's when people wanted to eat them.
Supply and demand, right? Simple concept there. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code HUGE. Make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets when your team wins. Now, if you're somebody who has a gambling problem, wants help, needs help, call the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Gambling Disorder Helpline at 800-270-7117. 21 plus. Michigan only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Opt-in is required. One bonus bet issued based on the amount of the initial losing NBA bet. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions to apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. No one's calling the fans stupid, right? Fans aren't dumb. Most of them aren't dumb. But what fans are professionals in other areas is what they are. And there have been some really bad professionals in professional sports, guys that just have not been good at their job, but they're under the microscope. Every move they make, every breath they take, we're watching them. In the words of Sting. And so everything's going to glaringly stick out. But I'm not calling the fans dumb. I'm not mocking the fans. That's not what I'm doing. I'm also smart enough to know that the organization isn't going to be like, hey, fans, let's put out a Twitter poll. Who should we take at number 6? Like, that's ridiculous. By the way, golf season's here. Tullymore Golf Resort Canadian Lakes offers not one but 2 championship courses. Tullymore and St. Ives, located about an hour north of Grand Rapids, 30 minutes west of Mount Pleasant. So what you need to do is log on to tullymoregolf.com, tullymoregolf.com, or pick up the phone, call my guy Matt Golden at 1-800-972-4837. Hour 3 is next. X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
Imagine this, winning big at Soaring Eagle. Spin the money wheel and win up to $100,000 cash. Every Saturday in April from 5 to 11 p.m., one winner each hour will spin for the win and take home up to $100,000. Whirl in for $100,000 money wheel. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
In the den. Hey, sports fans, here's a hanging curveball that you can knock out of the ballpark. This is Matt Shepard, the voice of Detroit baseball, inviting you to step up to the plate at Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sports book where you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today. Eagle Casino and Sports, made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play.
No one feels sorry for you in sports. Everyone knew how challenging the Tigers' schedule was when it was first released. They're in the midst of a 31-game stretch of facing facing teams that finished 500 or better in 2022. Tonight is the last game of the series in Toronto, a team that brings as much thump to their lineup as any team in the sport. They want a title. When the Giants come to Comerica this weekend, they want to show the NL West is not just the Dodgers and Padres. And then the Guardians come calling, and they always love beating up on their division rivals. Time to stop respecting the daunting opponents and start forcing them to take notice of what we hope will be an upcoming team in the AL Central. The Tigers need to start turning things around, and it needs to start quickly.
Imagine this, a day filled with indulgence, bursting with excitement, and packed with extraordinary moments that build memories to last a lifetime. A day that is unmistakably yours, at the place that is undeniably spectacular. Whether you're winning big, dining lavishly, or relaxing oh so comfortably, it's your getaway reimagined at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here for my good friend Tom Rosenbach and his team at Bean Carter. They're one of America's top accounting and business firms. They're based in downtown Grand Rapids, and now they're stronger than ever before with their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew. Now, Dorn Mayhew is an east side firm. Now you get the west side of Michigan with Bean Carter, and whether you're a small business or big business, they can handle all of your accounting and business needs at Bean Carter. Just go to beancarter.com. That is BEENEGARTER.com. And I mentioned with their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew, they cover all of Michigan, the Midwest, and coast to coast. Find out how the pros at Bean Carter can help your business today. Go to beancarter.com. That is BEENEGARTER.com. And I know Tom Rosenbach and his team are so happy about their new partnership with Dorn Mayhew.
It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Swings it out to Sadiq Bey. Defended in the corner. To Abdul-Rahman at midcourt. Extra pass. And it goes for the win. The three-pointer by Jordan Poole. Here's the give. Walker. Kenneth Walker. Touchdown. Smarty. Goff's got it. Back. Looks. Throws. Ends up. Yes. Caught. Touchdown Detroit Lions. They did it. Amon-Ra St. Brown in the receiving end.
Sends one to deep left center field. Back it goes, and that ball's out of here. A grand slam from Miguel Cabrera.
He's got 2 goals. Larkin in on goal. Scores! His first career hat trick in his 7th season for Dylan Larkin.
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Good feel-good Friday morning to you. It is the 14th day of April 2023. We welcome you back here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. Danny Cahill, Ryan Elke, Anthony Bellino, all joining you. Thank you for joining us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening, all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio as well. From Traverse City down to the Glass City, GR to the Motor City, we say good morning to you. We welcome you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And, of course, we encourage you. Join the program at any time. Text the keyword Sports Radio. Send that to 21,000 Sports Radio to 21000. Myers Supercenter guest line 248-951-2176, 248-951-2176. We're on Twitter at XB Mornings, Facebook X's and Bros, and, of course, good morning to our television audience as well. BCSN on Buckeye Broadband and streaming live worldwide. All over the YouTube at Michigan Sports Network. Add.com to that to find our website. xbmornings@gmail.com is our fan feedback email inbox. Danny Cahill is at Dan in the studio. Ryan Elke is at RyanL_Key. And I'm Anthony Bellino at AC Bellino. Gentlemen, as we enter hour number 3, I feel like we've got to. Hey, by the way, I know, look, we took some flack, I want to say like a month ago, roughly, give or take, about the intro to hour 3, which is the same intro as hour 1. When you listen to that, does that not make you feel like we are Titletown, USA?
Yeah.
When you hear it,
I mean, for the 45 seconds, and then you get back to reality.
Do you snap back to reality?
Sure.
Oh, there goes gravity. Sorry. Too much.
Wait, do you two believe in gravity?
Do we believe in gravity?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Just double checking over there.
Oh, God. What did Kyrie say?
I think he's just talking about our discussion prior to.
Oh, yeah. That's too far down the wormhole. One thing I will bring up, though, right now is that I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Saudi Arabia is buying massive amounts of Russian oil right now. Which is a huge issue. Our president was over there like 3 months ago-ish in Saudi Arabia, maybe 4. I double-checked that. But went for a visit, try to strengthen relations with Saudi Arabia. Obviously, OPEC, kind of a big deal for how we get in. And I read the Brenneman article about, like, thank God the Live Tour guys didn't win at Augusta. I clicked on it. They got me. I gave them a click. Yeah, I mean, CBS has a job to do. They're not going to not show the golfers that are on the course.
Guess what? They own the station, people.
The
CW is
Yes.
CBS and Warner, okay? That's what it is. They're making money off of Live.
And it doesn't matter if Phil Mickelson is a Live Tour player and shoots 8 under and is sitting in the clubhouse waiting. They could have cut to him in the clubhouse. That would have been cool. It's a televised event. The guy's participating. Like, I don't know what she was all up in her shorts about. The fact that, she went on the Saudi sports washing thing. You got to get over that. You have to get over that. They commit atrocities. Everybody does. Welcome to humanity. Like, read a book and get over it. Like, oh, well, he's buying into the Saudi. Where do we get oil from? The same oil that's used and made into gasoline for your vehicle. Like, where do you think that comes from? So are we going to stop driving to work? Is Christine going to stop driving to work now because it's preposterous. It's preposterous. She's funding the atrocities. How about that? Let's shift it into that real quick. Like if you buy gas, where do you think it comes from? So anywho, the Saudis are now purchasing massive amounts of oil from Russia. Why does that matter? Well, because when Saudi Arabia exports oil, where does that oil come from? Saudi Arabia. It's not like it's stamped like, oh, this barrel was born in Russia, and here's the born on date. And not like no, it's going to dude, this is a massive issue right now facing the American public while we sit over here and argue over bathrooms. It's like, dude, wake up. What are we doing? What are we doing right now? And it should be highly concerning. Like if Saudi Arabia and Iran both join the BRIC alliance, and Mexico does too, and Saudi Arabia dealing in the Chinese dollar, Russians dealing in the Chinese dollar, Chinese dealing in the Russian ruble. Like this is a massive issue for the American dollar. And I'm not here to scare anybody. I'm just saying, like, pay attention to what's going on. Like you never see it on the news.
We got Air National Guardsmen leaking national security secrets.
I can't tell you like what needs to be done to that individual on live radio, but it's got to be capital. There's no other way around it. Like if the information that he leaked, and people are like, well, I thought that we are over there. NATO is over there. They are entrenched in the Ukraine. The Russian foreign minister recently, Sergei, whatever his name is, literally said last week, like the whole point of this is to get NATO and to get the American influence out of Eastern Europe. Like that's what it is. They don't like us. And although we want to live in utopia where everybody just like, oh, here's some silk and here's some oil and here's some wheat, it doesn't work like that. We have lived a life of luxury since 1945. And we have tried to instill our dominance on the rest of the world ever since. And all great empires come to an end. Like, I hate to tell you this, but once again, open up a history book. It happens. It happens to all of them. And it should be the number one topic on the news. It should be the most covered, most concerning story in today's news.
The leak or what?
Not just the leak, but the entire.
Well, I just don't
Russo-Ukrainian
understand.
war.
I don't get how, and I know you're only getting top secret to what is need to know for you. Like my brother had top secret government access because he worked for the DEA. Like that's not exactly like this crazy thing. But what this guy had, and the fact that his mom, they called up his mom. I don't know if you saw the reports. They said, oh, yeah, he was working night shifts on Cape Cod. So nobody was around. This dude was probably just hopping on the boat back to the mainland.
Very bad. Very concerning. And if you're giving away any sort of philosophical idea, locations, strategy, like, dude, imagine Dan Campbell going to Green Bay right now and handing them the playbook. That's what this guy's doing. And who knows how long they've been here. Who knows? Like, I'm not going to guarantee his mom is I'm not going to guarantee his mom's even American. I don't know anything about her. I don't know anything about him. Like, dude.
Oh no, that's the problem. He's 21 years old. He was, it seems like he was not even graduated high school when he joined. It said he joined in 2018. Well, you do the math. I mean,
where'd he come from? Where does mom come from?
I'm not sure.
Who's had an impact on them? Who knows who they're working for? It's stuff like the reason this stuff happens in the movies is because there's a possibility. So we'll step aside. We'll be right back with more X's and Bros, more sports after this here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Imagine this, a day filled with indulgence, bursting with excitement, and packed with extraordinary moments that build memories to last a lifetime. A day that is unmistakably yours at the place that is undeniably spectacular. Whether you're winning big, dining lavishly, or relaxing oh so comfortably, it's your getaway reimagined at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
From the biggest of big games to the littlest of the little.
There you go! Go! No, first base! Go, run!
Whenever you shop Meijer, you help support hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. From some of the biggest stadiums in the state to the familiar fields down the street, you're helping make a difference to the people and places you call home. Learn more at Meijer.com/community.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Share your thoughts all morning long on the Meyer Guest Line. Call 248-951-2176. That's 248-951-2176. Now, back to Danny, Ryan, and AB.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you right along with us this morning. Reminder, we've got the NBA play-in action tonight. Cannot wait for that. The bracket turns into April. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the promo code HUGE, promo code HUGE. Make a $5 pregame moneyline bet. Score $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Now, if you or somebody who has a gambling problem, wants help, needs help, call the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Gambling Disorder Helpline at 800-270-7117. 21 plus. Michigan only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Opt-in is required. One bonus bet issued based on the amount of the initial losing NBA bet. Eligibility, wagering, deposit restrictions to apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. Get excited for a little shooty hoops this evening. We'll try to set the plate for you. Or I should say set the table. You know, set the plate, set the table. Got a couple of text messages to get to first. Intro needs more country. Absolutely not going to happen. Never in a million years. At this point, does X's and Bros actively seek reasons to talk about golf? I hate the Live Tour simply for all the boring golf talk it generates. Will in Comstock Park probably doesn't play golf. You probably don't play, so therefore it would be boring to you. Same as if, you know, people say baseball is boring. Other people argue, well, there's something going on every pitch between the pitcher and the batter, the chess match that exists there, and people that play the game, people that love the game, they get very excited about watching the game. Same with us in golf. RBC Heritage. John Rahm had a great quote recently talking about the new golf ball and this chase to an obsession with everybody hit it further. So the further you hit the golf ball, right, the farther it goes, the longer they're going to have to make the courses. Well, there's no point necessarily doing that, right? Because then guys are just going to hit it farther. And what John Rahm was saying is like, look, technology's better. Our athletes are better. Golfers are more, they're more in tune. They're more aware of, you know, how to treat their bodies. We have more technology to help in the development of your swing and how to make good contact and how to perfect your craft. Like all of that it all plays a role. And, you know, athletes are just better today than they were 15, 20, 30 years ago. It is what it is. AB, you're a fan too and a fanatic. I'm a fan of all my employers. Danny's Fine Foods, #1 grocery store. X's and Bros, #1 show. Lions, #1 football team. I'm a realist too. Tigers, #30 baseball team. USDA Scott is on hold. Wants to talk Lions and Tigers. Good morning, Scott. How are you, my friend?
Hey, buddy. Real quick on the Lions. I love what Jeff Risdon said. You replayed that interview this morning, and I would not be surprised if Brad Holmes takes one of those two picks, probably more than likely the 6th pick, and get somebody's first rounder for next year, because he is correct in the fact that if Jared Goff takes that final step and becomes completely reliable, you know, then we don't need that extra pick next year. It'll just be an extra pick. But if we have 2 picks next year and we can get Caleb Williams or one of those incredible quarterbacks that can be the future with a really good team. When you draft a young quarterback like that and you have an excellent football team behind them, well then you're making that step towards the Super Bowl. And maybe Goff already does that for us, and we'll see. But I love that comment by him as saying, and you know, Brad Holmes, you know, he could surprise us, and that stuff could happen. So I'm excited about the draft, but I'm also understanding that now it's building for the future. It's not building for now, and because the here and now is pretty much here and now. Like you were saying yesterday, our running back tandems, our wide receiver room, our offensive line. Need a little help on the defensive line, but they really improved in the back end of the defense. So it's just building for the future now. So that's really good.
Yes and no. Yes and no to that, because whoever is drafted in the first round this year, they're going to be expected to start. We still have to upgrade the talent because we're looking at, and Dan Campbell said this, the next step is to win the division. They have to do that. I don't think they're anywhere, to be honest with you, I don't think they're nearly as close as we all hope that they are. I think that they know that, and I think that if by drafting really well in this year's class, you could bring out a defense that, a lot of your secondary guys are on one-year deals, so your new additions, that is. But to be honest with you, if they can shore up that front seven, then you have the front seven, a majority of those guys are still on their first contracts. You could start to make some hay. And I think what we're looking for is the Eagles-Dolphins trade is what I would use for the example. So Miami acquired the number 6 overall pick and selection 156 in the 5th round from the Eagles.
Are we Philadelphia or San Francisco in the NFC right now? No.
Why not?
Even with the draft, I mean we're getting closer, and I think we.
Okay, all right. So let's say they use the number 6 pick and they get Will Anderson, and then at 18 they can get whoever your favorite player is in the draft, whoever you like, who's going to come in and start day one. You mean to tell me that this team, why can't they be San Francisco?
Well, I think they're closer, and the ball bounces funny ways. But I think to be in the top 4 is where we're looking to be. You got to take the next step. You can't go from not making the playoffs to the Super Bowl all of a sudden. I would be happy as a lark if we won a freaking playoff game and won our division. And in all honesty, 10-7, 11-6 might win the division this year. So,
and they weren't that far off from that last year. Here's the thing: we're not taking a leap from 3-14, right? Last year was that intermediate step. Now it's division or bust at this point. Right. That's where I'm at before the draft even takes place.
You know what, Anthony, that should be our goal for it. It shouldn't be Super Bowl or bust. It should be win the division finally or bust. And that's where I think we're at, and I think that's great. I'm so lucky, Anthony. I live right by Lake Michigan. I'm able to think about what you said, and I have fortunately a sister-in-law who is a lieutenant colonel at the Pentagon. She's not allowed to talk to us, obviously, about certain things, but they're so much more concerned about what Russia and China are going to think about us having boots on the ground in Ukraine.
And they knew that we did. I mean, all you have to do is hop on social media. There's plenty of American contractors that are there.
They could assume. But
no, Scott, it's on the internet. Like these companies, they're out there actively training Ukrainian soldiers, and they post it on their Instagram because they got to try to raise funds.
Now they have it in print from our government. They're worried about that those two superpowers think that's an act of war without Congress's approval. That's what they're worried. They're not worried about the 21-year-old kid other than the fact that he's an idiot and they're an idiot for giving him a top-level clearance at 21 years old. And yes, he deserves to be.
Yeah, he's a traitor. Like, that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. That's got to be, and that's got it. Personally, for me, like, I think the world needs to see it. Like, that's how we're gonna. However we handle it, like, the world needs to see it.
Whether you love your leaders or you don't, it's still the United States of America, and
we're down bad right now, Scott. We're down bad. It's the fourth quarter. The shot clock's ticking down. The ball's in somebody's hands that can't shoot. We're in a bad spot, but neither here nor there. We are going to talk a little more NBA playoffs, the play-in game, coming up next here on X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
The 1-2. Right side, there it is! Hey, sports fans, here's a hanging curveball that you can knock out of the ballpark. This is Matt Shepard, the voice of Detroit baseball, inviting you to step up to the plate at Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sports book where you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today. Eagle Casino and Sports, made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play.
When you're in construction, you know that every minute matters and every dollar counts. You've got materials to purchase, employees to pay, and deadlines to meet. What you don't have is time to worry about your accounting, taxes, or ways to grow your business. That's where we come in. We're Bean Garter. And while your business is construction, our business is helping you run your business better. From tax planning, payroll processing, or R&D credit studies, we're here for you with concrete advice and answers. Let us help you build a solid foundation for your business. Whether you're a subcontractor, developer, architect, or engineer, of all the things you build, make your business the strongest. Experience service, expertise, and simplicity at Bean Garter. Find us online, beangarter.com. Bean Garter.
From the biggest of big games to the littlest of the little.
There you go! Go! No, first base! Go, run!
Whenever you shop Meijer, you help support hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. From some of the biggest stadiums in the state to the familiar fields down the street, you're helping make a difference to the people and places you call home. Learn more at Meijer.com/community.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you riding along with us. You know, a great way to start your weekend would be at Tullymore Golf Resort in Canadian Lakes. I'm telling you that much. Holy mackerel. Not for Will in Comstock Park, though. He doesn't want to golf. Probably never played. Will. I'm not going to go out there with your first round. I'm not going out there. I'm not putting myself through that. But play a few rounds. Go out there and enjoy it. Hit that one shot that keeps you coming back. That's what golf is. Michael Jordan, one-on-one with Steph Curry. They were sitting down talking about what's the hardest sport to play. Michael Jordan said golf by far. He said because you always have an answer for your opposition. Defensive guy, offensive guy. This can be applied to any sport, right? You got Foley out there throwing straight gas last night for the Tigers. And Vlad could have answered him. Vladdy Guerrero Jr., remember seeing him when he was in the minor leagues. He could have pounded one opposite field over the fence. That would have been cool. That's a good answer, right? Foley gets him on a liner that almost took his head off. There's what Shep said during the broadcast. I thought that was hilarious, too, because it was so raw. I mean, Shep and Simo were just they were just doing radio yesterday on the broadcast, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. I really do. I feel like they got his levels, in tune now as well. It just sounds good. And the one hopper to Scope, he flipped it over to first, but he's like, Scope handles the one hopper and almost took off Foley's head. Like that, it was just great. It was so pure and in the moment. I loved it. I don't know how I got started talking about that. Oh, the answer. It's all about golf, man. The hardest sport in the game, because Michael Jordan said it's like playing a mirror. One day you go out there and you play really well, and the next day you can have the same exact swing, but you just can't hit the ball worth a damn. And that's what makes it fun. So let me tell you more about Tullymore Golf Resort in Canadian Lakes, Michigan. It's only an hour north of Grand Rapids, about 30 minutes west of Mount Pleasant. Up north golf without the drive. No matter where you're at, especially for all our folks at in the Northwest Ohio area, listening to us on Fox Sports 1230 down there in the Glass City. Matt Golden said the response from the Toledo Golf Show was fantastic. The number of people that stopped by their table and said they heard on the show. We love that stuff, folks. We love that. Thank you for that. So visit TullymoreGolf.com, TullymoreGolf.com, or just call Matt Golden direct. Tell him I sent you. 1-800-972-4837. That's his cell phone number. 1-800-972-4837. Book your stay and play at Tullymore today. It's great to have you with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening. And Mirza tweets in. And God love him. He knows. Mirza gets it. It's been Mirza Kosovic. Bellino delivering more actual news on sports radio than news stations. Look, you just gotta be aware. That's all I'm trying to do. Doesn't matter what side. I mean, and you got this other guy, Sean. Sean said he was tuned in, and Sean sent this really wonderful message where he said, well, I made it 2 minutes before I had to turn the channel. Same bleep, different year. Guy lives in my DMs, sending me selfies, begging for tickets. Like, it's just weird. It's weird. So I just asked him what happened. Maybe he'll respond this year, maybe next year. Who knows? But he'll be back. They always come back. It's a look. Sorry if that bothered you. It's just something you should be acutely aware of, and you should be concerned. You should be concerned about the American dollar. You should be concerned about the federally controlled digital currency, the Bitcoin of the feds, if you will. I think that's an issue. The New York Police Department is now they have AI robot dogs and bots and stuff out there now in the streets to help fight crime. I think that should be concerning. It's almost like we live in a movie. But at the end of the day, we're a sports station. Sports stations all across the state. Be on either side of the fence. Doesn't matter to me. We can all play nicely in the sandbox. And if you can't, then sorry. Mears also said, portal this, portal that. Honestly, this has given power to the players as much as coaches have and have too. When a mid-major coach gets tabbed for a big school, he's gone in the win. Now when the players are doing it, it's a problem. This is in response to a video from Dick Vitale that I had quote tweeted, because I'm not so I get it. Like, if you're a good mid-major player, like if you're like a legit player, you're going to bounce. I understand that. Ohio, it hit our buddy Coach Barlow more than anybody, I think. I mean, they lost 3 guys. One went to Virginia, one went to Alabama. They were playing big time minutes. They were impact players. That's what you want to do. Speaking of Ohio, it happened to Jerron Simmons as a grad transfer. You want to be able to test your mettle against the best in the game. My concern isn't so much the college coaches and portal this, portal that. A little bit it is the poaching of players. But I think that we have to try to help protect people from themselves a lot of the times. And I know you're like, oh, I got the freedom to do whatever I want. I want to go here with no penalty. And I just going to transfer schools. Michigan got a guy he's on his third university. Like, at what point is, do you have to start looking at yourself going, well, maybe the issue's here, right? With the old transfer rules of having to sit out a season, it made everything, it made your initial choice a little more drastic. They did implement the rule where if your coach left, then you get your free transfer. I'm cool with that. If the guy that recruited you left, go right ahead. You can leave too if he took a different job. But you probably know more at 25 than you do at 18. Is that a safe assumption? You guys, Dan, Ryan, do you guys think that you guys are more intelligent at 25 than you were at 18?
Intelligent?
Yes, 18-year-olds are dumb.
Thank you, Ryan. I don't know how this is even a debate.
No.
No,
Listen.
Go ahead.
Sure, we know more. Could we? I could not intake the information I used to intake, like when I was in high school. I can tell you that.
And why is that? Because your job isn't to go to school every day. That's why. If you literally had to go to a classroom, you'd be just fine. But you have a job, you have a life, you have bills to pay, you have a significant other, you have a home, you have to dust, you have to go to work tonight. Responsibilities change. No 18-year-old can do what you do without a little bit of a learning curve there. Would you say that you knew more at 30 than you did at 25? Because I'm flat out, if you say no, then you bleeped up. Like, that's on you. Like, you should absolutely be more intelligent, more experienced at 30 than you were at 25. The point of this is that when a coach goes to a mid-major school, let's say a coach goes to Central Michigan, and he gets his first, he was an assistant coach somewhere at a Power 5 high major school, and he ends up taking a job for the Chippewas. And the Chippewas win the MAC championship. They go to the NCAA tournament. He combines a 3-year record where he's winning 60, 70% of his games, and now he's going to get a call from Butler, and the Butler Bulldogs want to employ this coach. At his age, he has the experience in order to be able to make a call like that. He also has the opportunity to be fired in the middle of the season. That happens too. That's the one thing we're like, oh, the coaches get to do it. The coaches can be fired. Like, the coaches have way more responsibility on them than the players. Way more. And it's not even close. And so the point of this is that if an 18-year-old is unhappy with his current circumstance and the coach hasn't left, maybe we don't need to play musical chairs at the collegiate level. Maybe we need to help save some of these young people from themselves. And this is why, I believe it was Graham Couch wrote something in the Lansing State Journal. And the headline was, on Twitter, the headline was, Tom Izzo, the recruiting class coming in, the transfers coming in, the guys staying, everything that's happened with the roster is a big middle finger to what's going on in today's sports culture. I don't know. Look it up. I'll find it, retweet it. But that's basically, he did use middle finger to what's going on. Yes, like the guys that went there that get coached by Tom Izzo, that believe in that relationship, that stay to be coached, probably have a higher likelihood of being successful versus the kid that goes somewhere else and isn't happy and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to transfer, and now I'm going here, and I'm not happy here. And you're not happy anywhere because no one's willing to put their foot down. And no player is going to look at Tom Izzo and say something screwy or sideways. And it's not going to happen. And so my issue with the transfer portal, as much as it is save them from themselves, it is also, how does this impact the high schooler trying to get recruited? Because now coaches are looking at how many roster spots are you going to keep available for your incoming freshman class versus what do we want to recruit in the portal? And that hurts the high schooler. And so if it hurts the high schooler, they now have to go a different direction. That leads them into the portal eventually at some point if things go according to plan. They then hit the portal, then they're recruited, and they hurt the next high schooler. Right? The butterfly effect of the transfer portal. Interesting. Freddie is on hold. He wants to talk about transfer portal. Good morning, Mr. Freddie. How are you this morning?
AB, I actually agree with you, and you made me call because you said something about your buddy, Where's he coaching at? Ohio?
Ohio, yep.
Absolutely. And then if we have time, I wanted to make a comment about A.J. Hinch. But, this stuff I hear all the time, well, coaches can do it. That crap's got to stop. Okay? Because
Amen.
You play basketball, one day you can be a coach, and then you can do your thing. That's got to stop. But, what made me call was you said something about your guy at Ohio. These kids in high school nowadays, they all think too big in high school, meaning they shoot for the stars at 17, 18 years old, like we all did, but they shoot more for the stars because of what they see on social media. They think that's all reality. So they shoot for the stars, and they're like, well, I could play for North Carolina. I could play for Duke, but they're not getting recruited by these guys. So what they do is, well, Ohio's recruiting me. I'm going to go to Ohio. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to leave. You understand? That crap I don't like, because you're screwing Ohio, you're screwing the coach, and then you're giving up. And then you go to North Carolina and you realize, man, I don't belong here. I'm not worthy of being here. What am I doing here? I should stay where I was. So I think these kids, and I'm not going to make it a social media thing but the problem is, we all dreamt big when we were young, but these kids, they're screwed because they see stuff that's not reality, and they want that too fast, and it ends up screwing them in the long run. Versus going to Ohio, playing it out, doing well, and see where life takes you, take where you belong. That's kind of
Jason Preston drafted in the NBA after 2 years at Ohio. Like it could, if you could play, they could find you. And some of it is there are some coaches out there who do sell a dream. And when you get to the campus and you have to begin the process and you realize that everybody that's there was the best player at their high school level, it could be a little shocking, right? It could be a little eye-opening. Wait a minute, these guys are a little bigger. They're a little faster. They're a little meaner. They come from a different background. They got a little different level of hungry than what I had. And either you're going to accept that and eat that challenge, or it's going to make you reconsider what you're doing. That happens a lot in the world of college football. It happens a ton because in a game that is that physical, you take yourself out of that position of I was the best player at my high school. This happened to a relative of mine. I mean, he was the best receiver the school's ever had, without question. They don't pass the ball,
Jefferson.
but all of a sudden they started passing the ball.
High.
No, not Jefferson. We killed Jefferson. Get out of here. Every sport, dominate them. Get out of here.
Sorry.
Yeah. My dad used to work at Jefferson, though, so that's pretty crazy. Yeah. It's funny you bring them
up. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I know where you're going there. I know we have a mutual friend, Freddie. Don't act like I didn't spend time at Jefferson. Don't act like I wasn't, east of Dixie Highway now. Come on, Freddie. Used to go to the rec center out there. It was great. Anyways, the idea here is that, if you get into this scenario now and everybody else is the best just like you were, it is culture shock. And you're dealing with a lot of people that come from a lot of different walks of life. And they're playing with a different level of hungry because they know that they've come from a lot, especially in college football. You got a lot of kids that came from an area where if I don't get a scholarship, I'm going to end up a statistic. And when you don't have that same level of urgency to go make a difference and to get the hell out, I mean, that's a game changer. That's a game. That's flat out. That's as raw and as honest as I can be about it.
I know you're up against it, and you got to do your DraftKings spot and everything. But I do want to say one thing about A.J. Hinch. Number one,
was that the moment last night, Freddie? Was that the moment?
It wasn't completely the moment, but I was glad to see him finally have some balls and do something. The only thing that bothered me was the end of the game. He should have taken it to the next level, meaning he shouldn't have to explain himself. Well, this is not just about Javy Baez. This is about the whole team. He should have said, next question, because he should have left it on the field, because I think he talked too much after the game. He explains it way too much. The other team knew when you took him in the dugout and you sat him. The team knew. All you had to do was say next question and move on. I think he said too much. Excuse me. But,
okay.
Sorry, I opened the pizza oven door right when I started talking. My apologies. But anyway,
right.
I think he said too much. I think I would have left it. Next question. Been more pissed, and then the team would have got more out of it. But it's good. It's a start, and go Spencer Turnbull. That's all I got to say. Starting pitch is going to make this team, and that's just the way it's going to be.
They got to go at least 5 for us, Freddie. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Sick.
Sell out quickly.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There he goes. We all know AB has the top secret access to the Lions draft room and hope he tells us the picks. I'm not sharing that information with anybody. I'll hint at it. I'll hint at it with what I know, but I'm not going to share any information, any top secret clearance. Are you kidding me? I got to get ready for the draft party. We got a team meeting coming up next week on the 25th. We're having a team meeting. I don't know what we're going to talk about, draft party. Last year was too funny. Andrew Fry, my guy, God bless him. He comes up to me and TJ Lang, and we're getting ready to host the draft party. He's like, hey, thanks guys for being here. You know what he told us? You can have unlimited beer. Yeah, as many Bud Lights as you want. It's fine. I know that's what we were drinking. Somebody's going to come at me sideways with a comment. It's fine. You know where I stand. Not worried about it. So later on, we're up there. I mean, me and TJ, we're like, double fisting, talking to players, interviewing. We're hosting on the stage. We're having a great time. Right? And then all of a sudden, TJ Lang starts going pick for pick down the draft. It's just me and him talking. Lions pick 2. They grab Aiden Hutchinson. Crowd goes wild. We got to go back up on the stage. We're talking about the pick. Come back off the stage. TJ, pick after pick. They're going here. They're going here. I mean, nailing them one after another. I'm like, dude, this is insane. Why aren't we recording this right now? What are we doing? And so I look over at Andrew, and I'm like, TJ, how many beers you got left? And he's like, well, I got 3 over here, but I brought 3 with me. So we're sitting on a pile of beers, and we had beers in our hands. And I'm like, hey, Andrew. I was like, can we trade these beers out for some colder ones? He's like, you guys got to take it easy. He's like, all right, you guys. I know I said free beer, but you guys are killing us right now. You got to take it easy. We got to have you up there. I'm not going to be up there stuttering. I'm fine. I'm getting loose. Let's go. It's the draft juice, baby. Got to get it flowing a little bit. Trying to hold me down. Unbelievable. All right, NBA. Let's do it. Can we do a little NBA? We can do a little NBA. Get ready for the play-in action tonight. 2 games to decide the 8 seeds on both sides of the bracket, the Eastern and the Western Conference. It's the Bulls and the Heat. Miami 5.5-point favorites at home against the Chicago Bulls, who, with DeMar DeRozan's daughter, forced the Raptors to miss 18 free throws. Are you kidding? Are you serious? They came back from down 19. The Windy City Bulls. Sorry you went with Lonzo Ball. Terrible choice. And then at 9:30, that game's at 7, by the way, 9:30. Both this game on ESPN. The OKC Thunder, where the Pistons should be next year. And if they're not, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. Taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota somehow a 5.5-point favorite. A lot of dysfunction, kind of like SGA and the Thunder there. That's what I'm feeling. You can get in on the action right now at the DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Make a $5 pregame moneyline bet. Score $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. If you or somebody who has a gambling problem, wants help, needs help, call the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Gambling Disorder Helpline at 800-270-7117. 21 plus Michigan only bonus bets. Issue 7 days after issuance. Opt-in is required. 1 bonus bet issued based on the amount of the initial losing NBA bet. Eligibility, wagering, deposit restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.com/basketball terms. That's great. For Dan and Ron, I'm Anthony. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you Monday. Same time, same place. X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
Godsmack. Live and in your face. Friday, May 26th at Soaring Eagle Casino. Plus Bad Wolves. And same show, same night. Bullet for My Valentine. Tickets start at $28. On sale now at the Soaring Eagle box office or etix.com. Party hard, rock harder. Godsmack, May 26th. Part of the Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series.
When you're in construction, you know that every minute matters and every dollar counts. You've got materials to purchase, employees to pay, and deadlines to meet. What you don't have is time to worry about your accounting, taxes, or ways to grow your business. That's where we come in. We're Bean Garter. And while your business is construction, our business is helping you run your business better. From tax planning, payroll processing, or R&D credit studies, we're here for you with concrete advice and answers. Let us help you build a solid foundation for your business. Whether you're a subcontractor, developer, architect, or engineer, of all the things you build, make your business the strongest. Experience service, expertise, and simplicity at Bean Garter. Find us online, beangarter.com.